Hello, and thank you for listening to Apartment Divas Network. Here we have Sean Mahomes Sr., and this is episode 17, and we're focusing on empowering the youth part 2. How are you, Mr. Sean Mahomes?
I'm good, thanks.
So, today we have you here. We just want to ask you a couple brief questions. So, let's start. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your organization?
Well, Young Men and Women for Change is a behavior modification boot camp program. I'm actually the founder and executive director of the Young Men and Women for Change organization. And our job, or what we are trying to do, is help youth that are making unhealthy choices in life. The youth that are being disrespectful, disobedient, defiant, unruly, lying, stealing, cheating, getting in trouble in school, getting suspended, getting kicked out, in youth that's been diagnosed with ADHD, ADD, and ODD. And this is a program where we simply take the youth, we break them down, we build them back up. What do we mean by breaking them down? Just simply stripping them from everything that's negative, begin to build them back up by putting positive reinforcements in their life to help them become productive leaders.
Sounds like you got an awesome organization there. So why don't you tell us, when did you get started?
I actually, young men and women, well, young men, it was actually back in January of 2006. And back then, when I birthed it in the basement of a church, it was called Young Men for Change. So we've been around for 12 years. Through that tenure, the mother said, well, what about the females? They need help too. So I went back to the drawing board. I prayed about it. I fasted about it. The Holy Spirit said, call it Young Men and Women for Change, which will be a global organization. So we've been around for 12 years now.
Okay. So, um, how many states have you covered?
Right now, we've covered close to 9 states. We have parents that come from all over the state of Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, New York, Illinois, Florida, and North Carolina.
Wow.
Mhm.
Okay. So, can you tell us what motivates you to do this for the youth? Because I know it has to be a lot to do. So, yeah, just tell us what motivates you to get through your day.
Well, what we have to understand is that if we're talking about our youth, we have to put a focus on our future. And with everything that's taking place in our locally, in our community, and globally, in other communities, we have to understand that three things is guaranteed to happen if we don't help our youth. That's prison yard, graveyard, and homeless. So what motivates me is knowing that a tough love approach was given to me when I was growing up. And if it wasn't for the tough love approach, then I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. So I feel like the torch has been passed. It's my job, or not so much a job, but it's ministry work for me. But it's also motivation gives me that if I can save one youth or I can save several youth, then our future could be a lot promising, along with their future being bright.
Yeah, we definitely have to focus on our youth because, again, as you said, they're our next generation. They're our future doctors, farmers, and so for one, they look at us as um, a leader and mentors, and so we have to make sure that we're doing what we need to do so they can follow suit. So, with that being said, how do you feel about children after school?
Well, I think there has to be a very strong after school program, and there has to be a consistency uh, with the after school program, because if you're consistent, if kids can literally and actually know that there's an after school program where they can go and get tutoring, they can get fitness, they can be fed, and then they can also know there's love coming from that community. I believe it to be vitally important. For me, when I was growing up, Boys and Girls Club was an option for me. And so, even after school or even during the weekend, I was able to go to the Boys and Girls Club every day. And I love the game of basketball, so I was able to go every day except Sunday and play the game of basketball. So I think it's vitally important.
Yeah, as a kid, I went to the Boys and Girls Club. However, now it seems they're not open on the weekends. I remember going there all day on the weekends, having fun throughout the summer, going to camp. It was a lot more to do when it seems like when we were younger. It's things to do here, it's a little costly, but there are other options. Um, so one thing that I want to address is I did a lot of research on after school, and it told me that 285,000 students throughout Ohio were enrolled in a program. 846,000 students were currently waiting for an available program, and 431,000 students are in a current program. Those numbers to me are extremely high. And so, I really feel that we need to help each other in the community. If there's different organizations or other individuals throughout that will volunteer or who are interested in helping the youth after school, I think we need to work together. And that's really what we're missing here, especially in Toledo, is that we're not working together. We're working against each other when it should be focused on the youth. It doesn't matter what competition you have or who has the most money. None of that should matter. It should be focusing on how can we help the youth. So how do you feel about those numbers?
Oh, those numbers are very, man, those are high numbers, and the percentage is very, very high. But you hit the nail on the head is when you said we have to come together and work together. It's not about fashion or show. It's not about notoriety. It has to be addressed. And unfortunately, we're so busy focusing on competition and competing that we don't focus on collaborating. And the only way that we're going to be able to see change is that we must sit down, come up with a comprehensive plan, and figure out how can we offer more wraparound services to our youth and also their families, so parents in the community will know that there's options out here. Right now, with everything being sporadic and spread out, people don't know what's out here. And unfortunately, if we're not talking, if we're not sitting down at the table and breaking bread together and having a focus on what we need to do, then we're going to continue to see this rise, these unhealthy choices and behaviors, and suspensions at an all-time high. And you're going to see a higher dropout rate because there's nothing given at the ground level. And if we're not focusing on what needs to take place at the ground level and be true about that, then guess what? We're going to continue to see these numbers grow.
Yes, we definitely don't want to see that. And so a lot of people don't know Empowerment Divas Network was founded by the New Me Foundation and Lapo Productions, which the New Me Foundation, I am the CEO and founder. Again, I am Rachel McClellan, go by Michelle. And so I'm giving that information out because I realize that the programs that I offer, they're not really being offered at an affordable rate here in Toledo. And so the new program that we offer is After School Media, which starts in September. And I feel as though, the students should be able to come in to learn, but most importantly, have fun and to work on something that they want to do in the future. So that's one thing I plan to offer the youth as far as after school. But there's a lot of different things going on in the community. And so that's why we opened the New Me Foundation Resource Center to give these students these resources that they don't know about and they aren't aware of. So that topic is very important. That's why I chose to have a part 2. If I gotta have a part 3, so be it. So why don't you tell us, since you're not in Empowerment Diva, obviously, why don't you tell us what empowers you the most throughout, your work schedule, despite of just business, but a personal level? Because business is definitely hard at times. Sometimes you may feel like you want to give up, you want to stop, but it's got to be something or somebody as a mentor that you look up to keep going.
Well, my motivation and what keeps me pushing every single day is I'm a single dad raising my 14-year-old son. I've been raising him since he's 2. And when I'm able to pour into my son and see that he's an honor roll student, he got accepted into St. John's, so he'll be a freshman this year at St. John's. When I see the impact that has been made on the outside and is now being a positive influence on the inside, especially in my home, it motivates me every single day that I tell parents that I work with, if my child is going to be successful, so is yours, because I'm not going to discriminate and put my son on a pedestal and act like other parents don't have issues or problems. I'm truly blessed that through my struggle, let me say that again, through my struggle of building a program, and I want to say as well with that is that I fund this whole program out of my own pocket. I've been doing that for 12 years. I mean, we are a 501c3 organization, and we have over the 12 years received a couple of grants or whatnot. But when you are able to build something from the ground up and no one can come and take that away from you, that should be your daily motivation. Your motivation is that you build something from the ground up. No one can come and tell you what to do and how to do it or take it away from you. And you're steady growing and making that impact in the lives of parents. And also 98% of our clientele is white or Caucasian. So 98% of our clientele is Caucasian. And so when you see the disparities between African Americans and whites, and African Americans not taking advantage of the same opportunity that's given to the whites, then that's also your motivation to continue to try to keep pushing into the Black community. But unfortunately, we live in a place of dry bones, and people don't think outside the box, and people do not understand the importance of why our young Black men and Black women should be able to be productive leaders for tomorrow's future. So we have to be able to, once again, be able to offer those services. And then once again, that is my motivation to keep trying to save as many lives as possible so there can be a greater turnaround later on in our future.
Okay. Well, I think that's very wonderful, Mr. Shar. Also, I want to note that yes, it does start at home. However, it has to be in the school as well.
Absolutely.
You know, I've done a lot of research, seen a lot of things, and it has to be more than just a paycheck. You have to really go in and, you know, train these students to do better. The way certain school systems are, I'm not really going to go into too much detail, but it seems like it's like a setup. You're not teaching them the things they need to know. And again, the thing that I realized when I went into the schools, financial literacy is being taught in a sense, but for me to go to different schools and ask them, you know, what a credit score was, what personal finance was, they looked at me as if I was speaking Spanish. To me, that was, I mean, it was an eye opener. I'm like, wow, I need to be focusing on, yes, my youth at home, because they need to learn financial literacy, how to save. My dad always tried to teach me to save. You know, so it's definitely a lot of things we need to go over and focus on. And I'm sure Mr. Shah Mahal, I'm sure we're going to figure out something to do with these youth here today. So is there any mentors or people that you look up to throughout Ohio right now currently?
The one person that I look up to the most will be actually my baby brother. His name is Bishop Randall Parker. And I look up to him, even though he's my baby brother, I look up to him because he has such a desire to not only save families, but also a desire to help our youth. And he's real serious about that. I know he ran for school board a couple of times and didn't win. And it knocked him down a little bit, but he still has a desire to make sure that he pushes, you know, read literacy. And he's real big about our young Black boys being able to read, because unfortunately they know how many prisons to build be based upon third grade reading scores of our young Black boys. So when you look at the reading levels of our young Black men or young Black boys at third grade not being able to read, that is predicated on how many prisons to start building. So that's the one person I look up to in the community. Also my mom, my dad, those are the other two that I look up to, because my parents have worked 37 and 36 years at Libby Glass. And, you know, to see their struggle and seeing them go to work every single day and then try to do something positive in the community, is motivation enough for me as well.
That sounds wonderful.
And I wish I could really think of someone, and to be honest with you, that is older, someone that could, groom me a little bit more or be a mentor. But unfortunately, there's a disconnect between black men in our city. So when you have people that are in position that see what you do and that can pour into you, that becomes not happening here because everybody's in competition with one another.
Yeah, it's sad to say, but it's a lot of that around here. However, one organization or two organizations cannot possibly touch every child, every family. So it has to be something that we can do. And again, I really do thank you, Mr. Sean Mahone, for addressing your importance to help the youth, to empower them to do better. Uh, and on a personal note, as far as uh, the third grade testing, last year my son was in the third grade. We had a little trouble in school. However, when it came to that testing, I knew that they were going to test again in the summer. So I prepared him myself on top of sending him to the camp that they had for the testing. So I was working 12-hour shifts, and when I got off, I grabbed him. I said, "Hey, I got a practice test. We're gonna do it together." And we did this every day until the day before the test date. And so with that, he passed. However, I knew that I was going to have to step in. It was going to take more than just going to this certain class, doing what they asked you to do. It's going to have to take the parent to step up. So that's really what I try to do with all my children, is to step up to the plate. So again, I want to thank Mr. Sean Mahone for coming out and speaking with Empowerment Divas Network today. And this is your girl, Michelle, and we definitely will be back, so stay tuned. Again, your girl Michelle, Empowerment Divas Network, episode 17. Peace.